In today's lesson, we're going to talk about multiplying three-digit numbers. Now let's look at the following, 137 times 6. Now just as a reminder, the 1 is in the hundreds place, so it represents 100. The 3 is in the tens place, so it represents 30. And the 7 is in the ones place, so it represents 7. Now when we multiply three digits, we follow the same steps as two-digit multiplication. So we have the multiplicand and we have the multiplier, and we take each digit of the multiplier and multiply it by each digit in the multiplicand. Now we always start with the ones, and then we move our way across until we run out of digits. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's start with the ones, 7 times 6, which is equal to 42. And as we write 42, well, we can't write 42 because there isn't room for more than one digit for each position. So we're going to keep the 2, and then the 4 actually represents 41s, so we can regroup it into 4 groups of 10, which is why we put the 4 above the tens position. Now, we're going to multiply the 3 and the 6, and that 6 times 3 is 18, but we don't want to forget to add the 4 that we got from our regrouping. So then 18 plus 4 is 22. Now again, we only have room for one digit in each position because we're not finished multiplying yet. All right, so that means that we're going to keep the 2, and this 2 right here represents 20 groups of 10, which can be regrouped into 2 groups of 100. So we're going to place that 2 above the 1, which is in the hundreds position. So finally, we can multiply 6 times 1, which gives us 6. And again, we don't want to forget to add this 2 that we got from when we regrouped. So 6 plus 2 is equal to 8. Now, keep in mind that 8 represents 800, and so we write it in the hundreds position. So when you write your digits, as you write them from right to left, they always end up being in the correct position if you make sure that when necessary, you add your trailing zeros. Now this one didn't have any trailing zeros, so we can say that 137 times 6 is 822. All right, now that was pretty cool, but it's not as exciting as multiplying a 3-digit by a 2-digit instead of a 1-digit. So let's do that. Let's do 258 times 45. All right, so we're going to start with the ones as we always do, and we're going to multiply 5 times 8. So 5 times 8 is 40, and we can't write 40 because we can only have one digit in each position. So we're going to leave the 0, and we're going to take this 4, which represents 41s, and we're going to regroup into 4 groups of 10. So that means we're going to place the 4 above the 5, which is in the tens position. Then we're going to multiply the 5 and the 5, so 5 times 5 is 25. But again, we don't want to forget to add the 4 that we got from when we regrouped. So 25 plus 4 is 29. Now, we can't write 29 because, again, there is only room for one digit in each position. So we're going to keep the 9, and we're going to regroup this 2. Keep in mind that 2 represents 20 groups of 10, which is 2 groups of 100. So we place the 2 above the hundreds position. And then we go ahead and multiply 5 by 2, and 5 times 2 is equal to 10. And we don't want to forget that we're going to add this 2, so 10 plus 2 is equal to 12. Now keep in mind that this 12 represents 1200. So we're actually going to write a 2 in the hundreds position and 1 in the thousands position. All right, we've run out of digits, so again, we just write the 12 in front of our 90, and we can go ahead and multiply our 4 by each digit in the multiplicand. So we're going to multiply 4 times 8, 4 times 5, and 4 times 2. All right, now let's go ahead and multiply that. Now, you have to keep in mind that we're not just multiplying by 4 because it's in the tens position. So that means we must add one trailing 0 first. This is where the trailing 0 is the most important, and it's because we're multiplying by 40. So when we put the trailing 0 in there, that allows us to multiply the non-zero digits. All right, so 4 times 8 is 32. Now, again, can't have more than one digit in each position, so we're going to have to regroup. So we're going to keep this 2, but this 3, it represents 30 tens, or 3 groups of 100. So we're going to place that up here above the 5, and then we're going to multiply 4 and the 5. So 4 times 5 is equal to 20, but we don't want to forget to add the 3 that we got from when we regrouped. So 20 plus 3 is equal to 23. So we rate 23, but again, we're not out of digits yet, so we have to regroup. So we're going to keep this 3, but this 2 represents 20 groups of 100, and that's actually 2 groups of 1,000. So we're going to place this 2 above this 2, and then we're going to do our final multiplication of 4 times 2, and that gives us 8. Don't forget we have to add this 2 that we got from our regrouping. So 8 plus 2 gives us 10, and keep in mind that 10 represents 1,000. So we're going to write 0 in the thousands position and a 1 in the 10,000s position. Sorry, the 10 represents 10,000s. So we write a 0 in the thousands position and a 1 in the 10,000s position. All right, so we've done our multiplication. We've got our 2 products. We can go ahead and we can add them together to get our final result. So 0 plus 0 is 0. 9 plus 2 gives us 11. We can only have 1 digit in each position, so we write the 1, and we're going to regroup this 1. So we place this 1 above the next column. Then we add 3 plus 2 plus 1, which gives us 6. 0 plus 1, which is 1, and then of course we have 1. So we end up with 258 times 45 is equal to 11,610. Now a circus tent holds 437 people. If the circus will be in town for 7 days, how many people can see the performance if they perform twice a day? Well, how many performances are there in total? So in order to find that, the important information is that it plays for 7 days, and each day they perform twice. So that 7 days multiplied by 2 performances means that there is a total of 14 performances. Now, the total number of people who can see the show are 14 groups of 437 people, because the tent holds 437 people, and it can do that 14 times. All right, so we write our multiplication equation, which is going to be 437 times 14. So let's go ahead and multiply this. We're going to start with the ones, as always. We're going to multiply 4 by 7, which equals 28. Well, we cannot have more than 1 digit in each position, so we're going to have to regroup. So we're going to keep the 8 in the ones position, and this 2 represents 20 ones, and so we're going to regroup it into 2 groups of 10. So we're going to place it above the 3, which is in the tens position. Now we're going to multiply the 4 and the 3, which 4 times 3 is 12. And then, of course, we have to remember to add this 2 that we got from regrouping. So 12 plus 2 is equal to 14. Now, again, we can't, there's not room for more than 1 digit in each position. So we keep the 4, and then this 1 we're going to have to regroup. Now, it represents 10 groups of 10, which is 1 group of 100, which is why we place it above the hundreds. All right, so now we can do the last multiplication for this 4, which is 4 times 4, and that gives us 16. And then, of course, we have to add this 1. So 16 plus 1 is equal to 17. And we're out of digits, so we simply can write 17 beside, and it makes sense because the 17 represents 1700, so we'll have a 7 in the hundreds position and a 1 in the thousands position. And you can see that we just keep writing our digits from right to left, and they work out as they should. Now we have to multiply the 1 in the multiplier by each digit in the multiplicand. And so it's 1 times 7, 1 times 3, and 1 times 4. So since we're multiplying by 10, we must place a trailing 0, okay? So that allows us to forget about the 0 and multiply simply 1 times each digit. All right, so there's our trailing 0, and we're going to start with multiplying by the ones. So 1 times 7 is 7. So we place that beside. There's only 1 digit, so that's great. There's no regrouping. Then we have 1 times 3. So we multiply 1 times 3, that gives us 3. Again, we're going to place it beside the 7 as the next digit. No regrouping necessary. And last but not least, we're going to multiply the 1 times 4, which is 4, and we place it beside the 3. So now we have our two products. We can simply add them together. 1,748 was what we got from when we multiplied 4 times 437. And then 4,370 was when we got 10 times 10 times 437, which gives us 4,370. So now we can add them together by columns. 8 plus 0 is 8. 4 plus 7 is 11. We can only write one digit in each position, so we're going to have to carry this 1 above to the hundreds. And 7 plus 3 plus 1 is 11 again. So we're not at a digits yet, so we've got to regroup. So we keep our 1, and this 1 is going to go above the thousands column because that 1 represents 10 groups of 100. And finally, 4 plus 1 gives us 6. So that's what we get when we multiply 14 times 437. So therefore, we can say that 6,118 people will be able to see the circus performance. And that's your lesson on multiplying 3-digit numbers.